Ma'am,
You take it.
on behalf of a very grateful nation and the President of the United States, this flag is presented to you in honor of your husband's service to his country. Thank you very much.
Good morning, I'm Cantor Marc Bachrach, and I'd like to ask Lynn, David, Larry to take the fabric that's over your heart right now and to tear it with your own hands. The fabric of our lives has been torn by our loss of Harvey, and this is why we tear this fabric over our hearts, to reflect our grief and our tears. To everything, turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. A time to every purpose under heaven. There's a time to be born, time to die, a time to plant, a time to reap, a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to laugh, a time to weep. To everything, turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. There's a time to every purpose under heaven. Time to build up, time to break down, a time to dance, and yes, a time to mourn, a time to cast away stones, a time to gather stones together. There's a time of love, a time of hate, a time of war, and a time of peace, and a time that you may embrace, and a time to refrain from embracing. To everything, turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven. The words are from the Psalms. Harvey would have enjoyed hearing this kind of presentation. When we were playing the Limelighters and Peter, Paul, and Mary while we were baking under the sun waiting for your arrival. Because I'm sure you gave Harvey quite a surprise that night at the Bistro Garden. Adonai natan ve'Adonai lakach. Yehi Shem Adonai mevorach. You have given us the life of Harvey Friedlander. Now that life has been taken from us. What is a human being, God, that you care about him? Or the son, both man and woman, that you notice him? Life is so short, it often seems like a fleeting shadow, like the flower that blossoms in the day and dies at night. So teach us, please. Teach us to make each of these days count. Give us a heart filled with wisdom and love, like the heart of our Harvey. And match our days of sorrow with joy for all the years that we live. Those who sow in tears will reap in joy. Those who sow in tears will reap in joy, will reap in joy. Those who sow in tears, they will reap in joy. Those who sow in tears will reap in joy, they will reap in joy. Those who sow in tears, they will reap in joy. Good morning, Harvey. I'm sure the irony that I'm wearing a surgical mask at your funeral is not lost on any of us. Oh, you're welcome. I know you always introduced yourself to people as Harvey, never as Dr. Friedlander. Because you weren't the type of guy to leverage a favor with your title or your prestige. Of course, your mother, Ava, of blessed memory. There was someone who loved to hear those magic words ring out over the hospital PA. Dr. Friedlander, paging Dr. Friedlander.
That's true.
They tell me your mom sat in the waiting room for half an hour or more just so she could cavil with pride, with nachas, when she heard her son's, the doctor's name over the intercom. And that's what made you proud, Harvey. That your hard work, your dedication, your professional accomplishments could bring your mother, your parents, such pride, such nachas. You know, Harvey, it's a funny thing how that goes around. Because one of the things your son Larry is so fulfilled by is that he was able to make you proud of him. You know, they told me you were a simple guy, Harvey. Salt of the earth. A proud American, proud Republican, Army strong. A steak and potatoes man, an apple pie guy. Humble, hardworking, treating everyone the same. You gave the same respect to maids and janitors that you gave celebrities and other machers. I believe these people, Harvey. You were one of the only 2 surgeons in LA that would perform the special kind of surgery that you did pro bono for kids with rare birth defects over at the Shriners Hospital. Yes, sirree, Harvey. You are a long way from 1933 Baltimore, from your sticky apple business, from mom and dad giving you permission to eat all the cashews that you wanted for an entire day. 87 years in a big, wide country from your humble beginnings. 11 years of service in these United States Army took you to Heidelberg, to El Paso, and to Okinawa. And we honor that today by burying you with the American flag that you love. And on July 4th, 1974, you and Lynn, Abe Lincoln's neighbor, started off your marriage with a patriotic bang on the 4th of July. Well, maybe more than one, I don't know. Sorry, Harvey, my humor is nowhere near as dry and clever as yours. But really, Harvey, I'm still not sure. I really understand how you got in bed with Lynn the night you just met, before you even had your first date. But that's what I'm told, Harvey. Some sort of party game. I must have missed those parties, Harvey. 20 years later, you finally told Lynn you had followed her home that night, just to make sure she was available. The fact that night, Harvey, that night a flame of love ignited, burned in your heart for Lynn on that very night, and it never goes out. You know what? I found the copy of your book of love, and the flame's still burning, Harvey. It's still ignited. It still goes on to this day. Unbelievable. Yeah, you're right, Harvey. I found it in the Magic Castle. That's right. It was over there. And your favorite saying must have been, "I love you," Harvey, because you said it to Lynn every single day, all 46 years of your marriage. Proud American, and proud to be an American Jew. You and Lynn, you traveled far and wide through Europe, Asia, Africa. One of your trips. Very special trip for the family. That one really had an impact on you. The trip to Israel for Spencer's bar mitzvah. Being in the land of Israel moved your needle from devout atheist to almost agnostic. From, nah, no way, to, well, maybe, who knows. So if it's okay with you and the family part, we're going to throw a little dirt from Israel, from Jerusalem on top when we wrap things up here, just in case. A spoonful of the soil from the tribal homeland. The Holy Land couldn't hurt, could it, Ray? Huh? Here's a very special legacy, Harvey, right here. You leave your family here knowing that the kindness, the integrity, and the work ethic you modeled can live on in each and every one of them. And you left them a precious gift too, a deep, heartfelt satisfaction, knowing that each and every one of them earned your pride in their own special way. And that's a gift that lasts forever. The rabbis say, the collection of a person's wisdom, what you know to be true and real, is your Torah, your singular teaching. Each person has a Torah, unique to that person, their innermost teaching. And some seem to know these Torahs very early in life. Some are long, some are short. Every single soul has a Torah. And to hear another say Torah is a precious, precious gift. For each soul, by the time of his or her final hour, the Torah is now complete. The teaching is now done. There are lots of words that describe you, Harvey. Doctor, surgeon, husband, father, friend, and on and on and on. For they have to do with your roles in life. And then there's the things you mastered and the things you did. Cross-country runner, Civil War buff, stock market watcher. And there are lots of words that describe how well you perform those roles, those pursuits. But there is, however, Harvey, one perfect word for men like you. It's one word that our tribe has that absolutely says it all. One word that summarizes your Torah, your mission statement here on earth. The word is mensch, Harvey. Mensch. A real human being. Kind, humble, and compassionate. Your Torah is filled with the actions and the deeds of a mensch who rose from poor beginnings, yet he never let the achievement of riches and professional status cheapen his character or his relationship with others. Chaim ben Aharon v'Chava, Harvey, son of Aaron and Eva, your Torah is truly complete. Your teaching here is done. May we all be blessed and honored by your example. May you now receive 10 times the blessings back that you bestowed on others during your lifetime. You know, the thing about being a parent doesn't end. It doesn't end with age, and it doesn't end with death. Harvey will always be your father. He will always be your grandfather. And he will always love you. Our lives, they're gifts, God's gift to each and every one of us. But what we do with our life, that's our gift back to God. Harvey's work in life was a massive, awesome gift to God. And to his family, and to his friends, and to his colleagues, and to his neighbors, and to his patients, and to his community, and to his country. He wrote full chapters in his own book of life. So this morning we celebrate Harvey, even as we deeply grieve and mourn his loss. We offer our gratitude for the many, many gifts that he gave us. When I call on you, please stand where you are and speak to us from there. We begin with Larry. I'm only sorry that I had to yell it because the microphone isn't working. I planned to do it very, very quietly and sweetly, and you never would have heard it. So, Harv, we do a little ad hoc.
It was perfect.
Gotcha. So, he was such a mensch. There's, besides the word you just used, mensch, which I think is the best word, I'll say one other word that when you asked me to think of one word, I never thought of this word, but Renee's bestie Dina called me a couple days ago to express her condolences. She said Harvey was so soft. And I think that's a great word too. And then she said how sad her daughter was when she found out. Because she remembers when she was a little girl, she came to visit Harvey when she fractured her arm, and just how loving and caring he was. She still remembers that. Of course, he didn't send them a bill. Any of our friends that needed to see Harvey, never a bill. Always happy to see our friends. He always did the right and ethical thing. Renee told you, when I know you were talking, that she never heard anyone say one bad word against him. My wife, believe me, has a lot more closer to him than I am. But as she said, even me, I don't know anybody else who could say that. Anybody. That's the kind of human being he was. Harvey fondly remembered his days in the Poconos when he was a server. He always kept that in his heart. He loved it. And he was so always cognizant to always give the servers a great tip every time, right, Renee? Everyone who ever worked for us wanted to get the payments out quickly, pay him quickly, good tips. He really respected hard-working people. He was a hard worker. He was always sure, he always remembered his days in the Army with such reverence, appreciation for serving his country, that paid him to become an orthopedic surgeon, sadness for the horrors that he saw, and gratefulness for the military lifestyle that suited his personality, order and discipline. Sometimes he mused as to whether he made the right move for not becoming a lifer. A couple of his friends were brigadier generals. But then one day, told me a few years later, he said, "You know what, Larry, I know I made the right move, because I met your mother." Harvey's practice continued to grow, and while I was in college, he wanted to build his dream house. An English tutor inspired by the love of the English countryside and the European travels. My mom didn't want him to do it. She was happy in our house in Woodland Hills, and most importantly, she wanted him to start spending more time with her, rather than having obviously more financial responsibility. So he asked me to get on his side. I was his advocate to try to convince my mom to do it, and she relented. And they built that home together with such pride. They put their heart and soul, they designed the house together. And let's be honest, whether or not Harvey did that, he wouldn't have worked any less. Work was his lifeblood. From a boy who grew up from a financially devastated home, he achieved by working harder than anyone else. Perhaps he had a touch of OCD, but it probably served him well. His therapy was being productive. For better or for worse, emotional deep diving was not his forte. For better, it probably allowed him to better cope with being a surgeon, especially in times of war. For worse, it did cause built-up pressure by not being able to express himself in a more prolific manner. The best thing Harvey taught me is that all of the eloquent words in the world are cheap. What really matters is action. Harvey set that bar really high. Coming from a divorced child, a child's sense of stability can be fragile. I know that in our house, I felt secure. Secure that he adored my mother, secure that he would put me through college, and secure that he would be there when I really needed him. Whether that was my Little League games or my big speeches. After the Northridge earthquake, he rushed over to help Renee and I, and we lived in my folks' home for about 1.5 years. This was a special time, as I got to know my parents at a deeper level, and Renee really, truly became my parents' daughter too. Harvey, I've been mourning you the last couple of years, but now is our final goodbye. Let me say how grateful I am to have had you as my dad.
Bachrach, it means more power to you. Sawyer, friends.
Though it reflects poorly on my cognitive capabilities, I'll admit that it didn't even occur to me until college that Grandpa Harvey wasn't my biological grandfather. I knew that there was him, and there was Jack, but to me, Grandpa Harvey was always Grandpa. And that was that. I didn't think about it any further. And in a weird way, that simplicity was reflective of our whole relationship. He and I first got close at a time when I was having trouble with my own parents, when he and my grandmother housed me during high school. We were very different people in very different times, with often very different worldviews. Or as he liked to phrase it, I was someone who marched to the beat of my own drum. But despite our differences, I always felt my grandfather respected me. He respected my opinions, my personhood, my way of life. He saw me in a manner unclouded by politics, title, or identity, in a way that seems rarer and rarer these days. He saw me with truly unconditional love. Even when I was acting like a little shit, he would be stern but never mean, and I think that that is something worth noting. That never once, even when he was angry, did I ever experience a lick of resentment or malice from him. He was a kind and honest man who I respected and loved deeply. When I was thinking about what I would say to you here today, one memory in particular kept coming to mind, and admittedly it's a bittersweet one, and one that I was not sure I wanted to share. It was the last impression I have of my grandfather before his mental faculties were lost to his stroke. I remember one morning coming in for breakfast, or it was during my last stint when I was living at the guest house with them. I remember one morning coming in for breakfast. I joined him in the kitchen and looked out the bay windows of their kitchen and saw my grandparents' yard on a beautiful day. It was always a stunning yard, but this day in particular really, really struck me. There were hummingbirds, butterflies, flowers, the works. And as I sat down with my cup of coffee, I remember taking in a deep breath. I turned to my grandfather and I said, "Grandpa, what a blessed life you have, that you get to wake up every day and experience a view like this with your breakfast." And without missing a beat, he said to me, "View schmew, how are the stocks today?" Yeah, he was joking, of course, but in his unique way. But he was also kind of serious. And at the time, this really struck me as sad. Here he was in the twilight of his life, already crippled by his Parkinson's-like disorder, at a point where money really shouldn't mean anything. And it seemed to me, from my limited viewpoint, that he wasn't able to appreciate the beautiful life he had worked so hard for. But I've since realized that that isn't the whole truth. Why did he care about the stock market in a time when it had no real bearing on his life? I think I realize now that this wasn't for him. Much of his workaholism wasn't. Sure, it was habit. Sure, it was something that he liked doing. But I think more than that, it was an act of love directed at all of us, his family. I know that sounds a little weird, but I believe that his whole life was a trudge forward, from from a depression-era upbringing to a stellar academic career to his service in the military to running his own private practice. He worked his whole life incredibly hard. And for what? For whom? Grandpa wasn't the most verbally affectionate person, though he definitely had his moments. But I like to think that his tenacity to support his family was love expressed in one of the ways he best knew how. He was a provider. He wanted us to all feel secure, resourced, and happy. Just like it was for all of his patients, it was important to him that we were all okay. When I think of the character of my grandfather, I think of the man whose love for my grandmother was unwavering. The man who saw my personhood in the unique way he did. The man who infamously took his stepsons to 31 flavors upon their first meet. The man who made off-color jokes that he never really meant. And I think of a man who was deeply kind and wanted to do right by his family. A man who at his core was a straightforward, honest, and loving force in this world. In the more mystical traditions of the Jewish faith, each of us is described as a unique refracted portion of the divine light that is the totality of conscious existence that is God. As a faith without afterlife, immortality to us is the act of memory, but more than that is the process by which that unique light is reflected by all those who are touched by it. The ways Grandpa Harvey touched us, how he loved us, how he cared for us, these are the things that we can continue to reflect to others as our life progresses. This is how we can keep his torch lit. We continue his legacy every day by embodying and sharing the love that he showed each of us.
Yes, of course. Josh, if you would have your seat, please. And this is for yourself and for Spencer. And do you have the reading, or shall I give it to you?
For my brother?
The other reading. The reading you're going to do?
I have it all.
Oh,
Can I have that?
You'll have that.
Mom? Yeah.
So first, from my brother Spencer, he wanted to say, despite being stuck across the country, my heart is here today, with Grandma and our family. For all of my life, Grandpa Harvey was a healer who watched over others, but today it's God's turn. To watch over him. The long number. I wanted to say, this is from me. My Grandpa Harvey was more than a special person. He was a man of great integrity, who was caring and compassionate. I will never forget the days of me sneaking him Diet Coke when Grandma would say he's had enough. or him picking me up from elementary school. And we would sneak off to McDonald's together to get his favorite burger. These little things may seem insignificant, but seeing Grandpa smile was worth the world. Death is nothing at all. I have only slipped away into the next room. I am I, and you are you. Whatever we're to each other, that we still are. Call me by my old familiar name, Speak to me in the easy way which you always used. Put no difference in your tone. Wear no forced air, solemnity, or sorrow. Laugh as we have laughed at the little jokes we enjoyed together. Pray, smile, think of me, pray for me. Let my name be ever the household word that it always was. Let it be spoken without effect, without the trace of a shadow on it. Life means all that it ever meant. It is the same as it ever was. There is unbroken continuity. Why should I be out of mind because I am out of sight? I am waiting for you. For an interval, somewhere very near, just round the corner.
Thank you, Josh. And as you read that, because I hope you read it again in a few weeks, remember to keep the conversation going, the laughter and the tears with your grandfather, so all of us continue to speak his name, because your relationship continues forever. And now that we've praised him, we want to draw a blanket of love, compassion, caring around him, just as Spencer asked God to convey him to the Olam Haba safely, as he conveyed so many others to safety in his lifetime. I'd like you to turn to the supplement that we created, page 3, number 3. No, no, the supplement. This is the fifth. Here, show and tell. And what I'd like us to do is I'd like the men to start with the first paragraph along with me, and then the women to listen and respond with the second paragraph. And we'll alternate paragraph after paragraph, and we'll listen to each other as we all together pray and focus on a beautiful, safe passage, as Spencer said to the Olam Haba. This is our ancient Jewish prayer for the dead, even an agnostic can probably really appreciate this. Men, with me, compassionate one,
remember now the precious soul of Harvey Friedlander, who returned to the realm from which he had originally come to spend time with us in his life.
May
May his spirit be joined with spirits of our ancestors Sarah and Abraham, with those of his parents Aaron and Eva,
and with the spirits of other great men and women who now dwell in the bliss of paradise.
Source of all blessings are you. Yea, breath and all life, who created Harvey and graced us with his presence in our lives.
You
chose to bring him into being on our plane, and you chose to call him back to your realm in your own mysterious way.
We thank you, creator of life and death, for the time we had with our beloved Harvey, and ask you to comfort us now for our sins and loss in our lives, for our somber encounter with our own mortality and our
Renew in us the faith that in your unending love,
death is just but a journey of the spirit from the finite realm of physical being to the infinite realm of your eternal embrace. For the soul of the human is a spark of the divine.
will spring blessings are you. Yea, breath of all life, who is with us in life and in death.
Emole rachamim shochem bamromim hamsei menucha nechona tachat kanfei hashechina nishmat Chaim ben Acharon v'Chava. Great power of compassion who dwells in the realms of the high. Bring forth true repose beneath the wings of your presence to the spirit of Chaim ben Acharon, Chava, Harvey, son of Aaron, and Eva. Osei shalom b'romav hu yaseh shalom. Shalva Nechama V'Koach Zikaron Edna Aleinu V'Al Kol Yoshvei El Tevel. You creates harmony in the realm of the high. Also bring to us harmony and peace of mind, consolation, strength of nurturing memory upon us and upon all who walk, swim, and fly across this journey. Yes. This is our ancient Jewish prayer for the dead. And when I thought about which melody to sing, because they're such beautiful melodies, but they're big operatic cantorial pieces, I thought, no, not for Harvey. Harvey was a humble man, and he loved folk music. He loved Peter, Paul, and Mary, and the Limelighters. So I chose this for my father's funeral, because he too taught me to love the Limelighters, and Peter, Paul, and Mary, and of course Theodore Bickel, and that's why I have a guitar in my hand. Okay. So Harvey, thanks for picking the tunes today. Malay Rachamim Shochen Bamrobin Hamsei Menucha Nefona Tachat Kanfei HaShekhinah Ma'alot Kedushin U'Tehorim Zohar HaRakia Mazkirim Beit Mishpat Chaim Ben Acharon Shehalach Le'olamo Began Eden Tehei V'seiter kinafa v'olamim Yitzror b'tzror chachayim et nishmato Adonai hu nachalato V'yanuach al mishkavo b'shalom V'nomar Amen. You turn to page 4, which is the back side of the one we just read from. We'll read together. Together, let's hear each other say these words about what we're about to do. There's only 2 prayers that are truly required for this service. We just did one of them. Now I'd like you to really enter into what the Kaddish is. Together, the Kaddish is the traditional Jewish memorial prayer. Unlike its counterparts in some other religions,
The
Kaddish makes no mention of death or dying.
It is
Rather,
rather
a
a powerful
powerful affirmation of life.
In our most vulnerable moments, when we are tempted to curse God and view life as a contemptible, random, meaningless period of suffering, our tradition requires that we stand up and we publicly recite the Kaddish in the company of our friends and our family to affirm the basic tenet of our faith, that there is meaning to our lives. And when we pass on, our spirit is implanted in the hearts of those who we touch. This spirit can guide and inspire the living to grasp the fragility of life and to seize every opportunity to live life to the fullest, to perform acts of loving kindness, and to use all of one's powers in the pursuit of excellence. With the mourners and all who support them, please rise together.
Yitkadal, Yitkadash, Shemei Rabbah. Together, help us, O Lord, to embrace the enduring. V'yamad divra kirutei, v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayim v'chol mechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, v'agalav v'izman kori v'imru, Amen. Teach us the value of time so that we don't squander our days. Yehi shmei Rabba mevorach le'olam u'olmei al-mayav. Yisbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar, v'yitromam, v'yitnasei, v'yitadar, v'yitalel, v'yitalal, shemei d'kudesham brichu. Protect us from ourselves as well as from others who seek to harm us. Give us the strength to fight off depression and cynicism by helping us affirm our belief in these ancient mysteries that have been our comfort and our strength, binding the generations one to another. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tishbachata v'nechamata, da'amiran bi'alma v'imru, Amen. Inspire us with a sense of the sacred, protect us from a numbing dullness of the soul. Yehi, Shlama, Rava, Min Shemaya, V'chayim aleinu v'yal Yisrael v'imru, Amen. Remind us always to be nurturing to others, to feed the hungry, clothe the naked, heal the sick, and comfort the brokenhearted. May the memory of our loved one always be an inspiration to us. May the Father of peace grant peace to every mourning heart, and let us all together say, Amen. We're going to begin the interment, and we're going to make sure we have the Jerusalem dirt. At the end of our Jewish funeral, when the casket is lowered, the close families first throw the first dirt over it. And a traditional practice is for each family member to add 3 shovels of dirt to the grave, but using the back or the rounded part of the shovel, rather than the scoop. And symbolic, we say just how reluctant we are to lose this person, to lose this loved one, to lose Harvey. And perhaps it's just superstition, but it's also the custom for each person to return the shovel to the mound of dirt, because passing it directly to the next person in line is like handing them sorrow. So when you're through shoveling, please return to your seat, standing if possible. Shalom, Imroma, Shalom Aleinu, V'ala kol Yisrael, V'imeru, Yahaseh Shalom, Yahaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, V'ala kol Yisrael, Yahaseh Shalom, Yahaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, V'ala kol Yisrael. Sun from the lakes, from the hills, from the skies, all is well, safely read. God is nigh. Vad hayom Shemeshtom, Kochavim notzatzin babaron, Laila ba lemnucha. Shalom, Shalom. Oh, the world is just a narrow bridge, just a narrow bridge, just a narrow bridge. Oh, this world is just a narrow bridge, just a narrow bridge, just a narrow bridge. And above all, is not to fear it all. And above all is not to fear it all. We can begin the shuffle. Do we have the Jerusalem church? We have the Jerusalem. There's a pack.
Dirt in with them.
You're gonna do two lines? Very good. Okay. Excellent.
Thank you. I am a poor, wayfaring stranger,
Are you okay with
traveling through this lonely world. There's no sin, no toil or danger in that bright land to which I go. I'm going there to see my father. I'm going there, no more to roam. I'm going there, just over Jordan. I'm going there to my new home. One of these mornings, and it won't be long, all men will rise and stand side by side. Then hand in hand, they're bound for glory. Their foes will fall before freedom's tide. I'm going there to see my brother. I'm going there, no more to roam. I'm just a-going over Jordan. I'm just a-going to my new home. I am a poor, wayfaring seafaring stranger, traveling through this lonely world. And there's no sickness, no toil or danger in that bright land to where I go. I'm going there, see my Father. I'm going there, no more to roam. I'm just going over the Jordan. I'm just going home. I'm just going over Jordan. I'm a-going to my home. So in just a few moments, when we finish, all of us, except David and Larry and Lynn, will form two lines, one on either side of the pavement. And we'll have them pass between us, and each one of you take a moment to really connect with each of those folks. And we say a special blessing and a special hope for each one of them at that point. Our traditional blessing is Hamakom Yenachem Etchem B'toch Sha'ar Avelei Zion V'Yerushalayim. But what it boils down to is the words, may you find a holy place of comfort. And so as they pass by, if you would quietly encourage them, may you find a holy place of comfort. Because you see, this holy place of comfort, this Hamakom, this is the place that's invoked on those who are grieving. It's also a name of God, and it points to this holy mystery that's healing. When we're stricken by grief, we can't imagine how we'll ever recover wholeness. We just can't know. But healing, it comes from a place we do not yet know. So if we're willing to admit that there are things we may not know, but just a possibility to the unknown can reach out to us and carry us to a promised land of healing. It will not look the way you envision it from the land in which you currently stand here in Simi Valley. But if you can open yourself to the possibility of the unknown, then there's a possibility of discovering Hamakom Yenachem, the holy place of comfort inside each of us, in which your healing is going to be found. So as we form two lines now, Scott will address us, and then we'll recess back to the parking lot.
So
One line on either side of the
two
pavement.
sides, and we'll walk through. So if I get everyone else,
Everyone except
just
Lynn,
stand right here for a moment. Just stand
David,
over here.
and Larry.
I'm going to have everyone else form two lines facing each other, starting right here.
Perfect.
So starting
Yes.
shoulder, well, it's close, maybe not shoulder to shoulder, but stretching this way, folks. If I can get the rest of you to come over here. Can I get you to come down on
Further down, please. All of you further down.
Right over here. Again, maybe on this side, so we have two lines.
Yeah. Larry and David are going to each walk you down through the aisle. Perhaps separate. And so without speaking as they pass, but simply the words, may you find a holy place of comfort. Make eye contact and let your hearts open and let them feel that there is a safe place in each of you to share the pain and the grief that they experience. Hamakom Yenachem Etchem B'toch Sha'ar Avelei Zion V'Yerushalayim. Everyone, may you find a holy place of comfort.
Stuff right about this, and my condolences again to all of you, to your family. If there's anything we can do today, please let us know. Cantor, thank you so much. Everyone, thank you for attending today. Be well. You're welcome to take the prayer books if you like, or just leave them there. Please take some water if you would like. Thank you all. Be well.
Thank you, Scott.
Far they're not cold though, are they?
Yes, they are.
We were at first.
Well, this sounds more to me like